The satirical puppet show Spitting Image, which has just completed its 4th series, is one that has always aroused much controversy, some finding it wickedly funny, others thinking it cruel, grotesque, and in its coverage of the royal family in deplorable taste. But whatever your view, you must have wondered, as often I have, how the thing works. Are there little people beavering away inside the puppets? Are they manipulated by strings or remote control, or what? We talked to the puppet makers Fluck and Law, as well as members of the production staff.
The spitting image comes from an essentially immoral position, in some ways quite a reactionary position. We started very high-tech, very expensive, and then we went very low-tech, and these things are actually terribly simple. They're basically Punch and Judy puppets, glove puppets. And on the basis of this and some of Fluck and Law's postcards, we went round, we hawked our product around on our CVs around all the television companies.
We made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because we thought we'd make them highly technical. We used film people. But the solution was, in fact, sticking with old crafts. We draw, we model, we make molds. The foaming's a fairly new technology. It's about 10 years old. And the mechanics are very simple. The trick in making the puppets was really like a jigsaw. You just had all these old crafts and you had to get them into the right order to make the production line to make the puppets.
I used to have to go to the IBA in the Brompton Road every Thursday and watch the rough cut with them. And me and a committee of men and women in suits that, sat in stony silence, nodding quietly. And said, John, that really is the most disgusting thing I think I've ever seen.
Yes, they're just creating these sort of new people from nothing. And playing around.
Well, it ought to be Stock Aitken and Waterman then, really.
Yes, creating this monster called Rick Astley.
Totally artificial, conceived over lunch.
We start, basically there are sort of 4 or 5 of us, and we come in really with no ideas at all. And we sit around and go through a digest of the week's news and really see what sparks off.
You remember last year he made you laugh? Because we did a sort of Yes Prime Minister thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the repeats.
So we don't call them repeats on the BBC, we call it Another Chance to See.
Another chance to see a classic moment.
So, we can find things funny when we write them which appear to be terribly unfunny when they go on the screen, but generally, because there's a group of people with slightly different senses of humour, some people are more satirical than others in the room, there tends to be a sort of rubbing off process, so in the end you get something which, if everybody thinks it's funny, it probably is.
One hates to be dubbed a satirist. That's, because what is satire? It invites comparisons with eminent personages that we don't care to be compared to. So we think very hard about what we do. We do deal with dangerous areas of life, but the rule 1 of Spitting Image really is that if it can be in the news, we ought to be able to deal with it.
At the minute, I think the things that we've written which may well end up in the programme, we've written a thing about John Moore in bed in a hospital and Maggie visiting him, a thing about Ronnie also talking about how Gorbachev is about to visit him, which is obviously one of the big stories around at the minute, and how he's, it's all about Reagan going to sleep, really.
Puppets, you've probably seen, they're practically life-size. There's an advantage in that, which is that if Puppeteer can actually manage to hold it up there, then he's concealed by the body of the puppet.
Anyone admitting to being on props today?
And the sets have to be contrived so that they always provide plenty of masking in front of the puppet. So again, that helps to conceal the puppeteer.
On the table, in the shower. Heck, George, I can even go to sleep in the middle of a sin.
Well, you have, say a puppet is like a human body hollowed out, one of the large ones. If you have the hand coming up the old bun here, as it were, and you hold it like that, and it's like that, basically. And so the left arm, the person's left arm, your left arm is there. So if you stand there, Steve.
Well, if I was operating Chris, so you're going to...
If I'm operating you, the hand comes up through the body there like that, and then my hand goes like that. So you have me going, good afternoon and welcome to Sporting Image. Today we have one of the only, scratch the nose, da da da, and it goes on like that.
Pick your nose and do all the funny business.
It's two or three puppeteers for each puppet, because hands have to be done, the head has to be done, and eyes and things like that are done remotely. So one puppeteer is maybe sitting on the ground, and the other two actually holding the whole thing up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, that's a decision you've made while I've been in bed.
Yes.
Why are we abolishing free eye tests?
Think about it more.
Well, people won't be able to get their eyes tested.
And?
They won't be able to get glasses.
So?
They won't be able to see what we're up to.
I love it when they think for themselves. Have a great.
Thank you.
That's what the 577.
I think the whole Churchillian thing came about when she started wearing a suit, and it's that scarf thing of extending the caricature. So you want to bring in Churchill, so you bring in a suit, you bring in the cigar and the rest
whole
of it.
sort of male image, really.
John?
Well, as you know, madam, I became leader of the opposition in 1975 in February, and that is when I discovered my voice. When did you discover it, Ronnie?
Well, when I became president, someone told me I had a voice. Then I opened my mouth, and here it came.
Splendid, isn't it?
I'm still discovering many other things about my body, and Mags is helping me. Aren't you, Mags?
No, Ronnie, I'm not.
Is this a two-shot?
At the start of this election campaign, I promised that my government would set Britain on a course into another century. I'm afraid dates got a little bit confused in the press, as I actually meant the 19th.
We believe that people should be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
So give me that stick.
I was immensely proud of the election programme. I think it had strange effects that we didn't necessarily expect. Apparently the Liberal Party did a survey which showed that our portrayal of David Steele did them enormous electoral harm, which we didn't necessarily set out to do, but obviously the electorate perceived a certain amount of truth in that.
When we get in, we'll reduce unemployment, increase spending, improve services, and make everything wonderful.
Oh, David, how can we be sure we're not going to break these promises?
Because we're not going to get in, are we, Shorty? Vote David Owen! David Owen for Prime Minister! Vote David Owen!
The bulk of the programme was aimed at the government at the time, at Thatcher, because it seemed fairly obvious she was going to get in. And that didn't really dent her at all.
Nobody's ever really put any political pressure on Spitting Image. I mean, the most we've had is pressure to do with what we can and can't say from within the broadcasting authority. I think in the climate of political pressure that the BBC is enduring, perhaps it would be provocative. A programme like Spitting Image would be rather provocative to the government, but I'm sure that the new management of the BBC, who are splendid fellows, would stand up to it.
Steve, you should be in. Lovely.
We've got about half an hour to go, and we've got about 8 things to finish, so about half of those will get dropped. And I've just literally had a phone call with a lawyer, and I've had to change one line from one sketch, which we're about to do. So it's pretty normal, really.
It's really, it's just a raspberry Spitting Image. I mean, that's all it is, a sort of loud 25-minute raspberry.
It's very energetic work.
Very, very highly paid indeed.
Well, I am afraid I cannot stay here very much. I've got to close down the local hospital, so may I wish you the very best.
And I'd just like to say on behalf of everyone here at Spitting Image, hello.
Isn't he splendid?
I certainly am, kid. Let's go.
So now you know.